Good afternoon, punters. Welcome to the Bagman. I've got my host for today. We've Blake Johnson. We've moved him on. We've gone for a better looking version, and here we are with Jason Campbell from Campbell's Gambles. Hey, Jason, how are you, mate?
Good, mate. How you going? Just heard rumour that Blake's jumped the border and gone to Queensland to watch the mighty Manly Seagulls play tonight against the Rabbitohs. So I didn't get to join him, unfortunately. I'm a Manly fan myself, but good luck to Blake, and hopefully he can cheer us on. Hopefully we can get the win tonight.
He'd do anything to get there to that game. He was just telling me earlier a good price they were, so I reckon he'll be backing them for sure. I'm not much of a fan on South either, so I'm probably happy for Manly to get away with it tonight.
The one person that actually doesn't mind Manly, the Silvertails, it's over. Jeez,
I despise South, so happy for anyone to beat South. So, mate, now tell us, I've been seeing this Campbell's Gambles dog popping up lately.
Yes, he's...
What's about what's going on there? He's 2 from 2, isn't he?
Yeah, little star. Well, he's not little, he's big now. But we basically bought him about 18 months ago as a 4 or 5 month old pup. And we've been through the whole journey with him. It's a wonderful journey, the greyhound journey. But brings a tear to my eye thinking about it. But so he's won his first 2 races. Unfortunately, he pulled up a bit sore from the other night. He actually at the boxes, box 4 actually stepped on his toe. On his paw, actually, so he's come back bleeding with a bit of a hole in his foot. So we've had to put him away for a couple of weeks. But he's a courageous little bugger because he kept running and he won by 8 lengths in the end. So not that the 2 dogs checked and that gave him the win, but doesn't really matter. We take the win. And so that's, I guess, if I just got to plug myself, that's over at CG Syndications. So that's our greyhound syndicate. So check it out on Facebook and Instagram.
The guys can get in touch with you now, and you've got syndications happening fairly regularly.
Yes. So every time he wins, it helps us get more people through the doors to buy more pups, because there's always pups out there. It's just a matter of getting clients on board to join the journey and have some fun.
Yeah, brilliant. No, it's a great result. It can't go any better than your first dog going 2 from 2. So I'm sure it'll be good success from here. Mate, let's get into this meeting for tomorrow. We're back at Rose Hill. This is going to be a big interesting factor in how that track's going to play. It hasn't had racing for a while. We haven't had rain or anything like that for a week and a bit. And how do you see the track playing there at Rose Hill? I don't think there's any stuff in the form about a pandemic this time last year, or it might have been over by this year or the year before, to get a track pattern on how it races after a 5 pandemic hiatus.
Yeah, well, I'm sure a lot of the expert form judges, they have their spreadsheets full of track patterns, but I don't think this is one that you can. There's no history on a pattern like this, as you were saying. I'm a little scared for tomorrow. It could be an absolute road. There has, that Rose Hill hasn't really seen a hoof in about 3 or 4 months now. So other than the outside part of the track where they've been doing the trials, so rail in the true. I think it's like 27, 28 degrees today, and tomorrow's going to be 20 and sunny. Yeah, I'm a bit scared. I think it might favour horses on pace. What about you, Luke?
Yeah, I think the same. I mean, Rose Hill, I feel, is generally a little bit of has an on-pace bias to it. Just sort of hoping that maybe they've sort of thought about that with no one on it. We've had nice dry days. It's been hot all the week, so they've maybe pumped some water into it, and hopefully we can just get an even surface, or it's a good 4 at the moment. If it's just got the bang out of it, I'll be pretty pleased with that. But we kick off the QUADDIE legs here with the Keeneland Golden Pendant 1400 metre race for 3-year-old fillies in Group 2. What a cracking event to kick off. How do you see this one playing out, Jace?
There's not a load of speed in this race. I guess you're the speed man expert, or speed map expert, that I guess on previous episodes that I've been on, you've been doing the speed map, but I guess I'll take over from you here. I think FANGIRL from the low draw basically maps to lead this race on her own, unless Nimalee from the wide draw comes across and I guess plays a part in this race. The obvious favourite here is the New Zealand mare Entriviere, who was really good first up. I think this is a completely different setup for her. We're getting the same price for her, but she's drawn sticky. She's got to get back, and I have question marks on the track. I don't want to dive in at the price. I think Vangelic's probably the big improver. I thought her run first up wasn't too bad. Obviously, she got beat 3 lengths by both Entriviere and Fortuce. Bit of a concern on that second horse, Fortuce, at 1,400 metres. I've always seen her as a dry track 1,100, 1,200 metre horse. So first time at 1,400 metres, even though she hit the line suggesting she might want it, I think she might be one of those horses that hits the line hard at 1,200 and does nothing at 14, because 1,400 metres is a specialist distance. So I'm leaning with Vangelic at the price. What about you, Luke? Do you think the Kiwi mare deserves to be a short price favourite? And if so, are you on board?
I think she does. Look, I'm as we said, I think Vangelic leads is this race, and if I could get into the to the Matt Smith camp, I'd be loving them to push forward and sit outside with Nimblee. Like, I'm just hoping that last run, I think I'm taking it as though it was first up. They just went back. It was a really hot tempo and it ran on extremely well. I just hope they don't look at that and go, oh, maybe we'll start to ride her quiet, because this race maps perfectly for her. And she's up to 1,400 now. She's got a great cruising speed and she quickens really nice off it. And she's very, very tough. So, if I can see Nimblee rolling up outside Vangelic, I think she's going to take a power beating. Probably the only chance, or the best chance she's got to beat the New Zealand mare, if she can be in front of her and get that good skip and jump off a slow tempo, going to make it a lot harder for J-Mac to run down. The other one I want to throw in the QUADDIE for my two is Ice Bath. Sort of been with this mare a couple of times now. This time in, I thought they've both been pass marks, and both been fair runs or decent runs. I'm just looking for her third up. I know she wants a little bit of bang out of the track she's not going to get, but I just think she's on her way to this, to the Epsom. She's been mapping really well to run on well, and she's only been going down in fractions. Beat 1.2 first up and 1.9. I thought they were both creditable runs. Gets a nice run here from the draw, won't do any work. And look, if hopefully they do roll along a bit, and she'll be able to be coming with Entriviere, just whether she can match her turn of foot. That'll be the difference. So for our QUADDIE, I'm going with Namali and Ice Bath. And what two are you going to put in, Jace?
I'm going with, obviously, got to have the favourite in there on Entriviere. She's a class man. She hasn't missed a placings, and she's obviously won 6 from 8 starts. And I think Vangelic can run a cheeky race on speed.
Yep. So we've got 2, 4, 9, and 10. Hopefully we can get the QUADDIE this week, or even kick off the first leg. That'll be a start along the way, because looks pretty tough as we get deep into this program. Rightio, next one. We've got race 8, the Goulburn Race. What an exciting event this has been. Probably one of the most anticipated things of the spring so far that we've been waiting for. Looking at the map, I think it's going to be all important as to what we do here in the Congo. I think and Tiger and Malay probably take this up. You've got Coast Watch will push forward. Just interesting to see what they do with Giannis here early on in his career. Followed this horse through the sort of Golden Slipper campaign, and I know the camp had a really big rap on it. He sort of got a long way back in his runs there. First up this campaign, he was a lot closer. I'd still like to see him from 9. It's a tricky draw. I'd love to see him get a nice sit, probably 3 or 4 pairs back with a bit of cover, because I think he's got a really devastating turn of foot and I really like the horse. But how do you see this one playing out, Jace?
I'm going to be a bit of a Debbie Downer here, but I don't think this is a really strong version of the Golden Rose personally. I think a lot of these horses that had hype as 2-year-olds haven't really hit the mark as 3-year-olds just yet. Obviously, it's only 1 or 2 runs of sample size, so they might just come out and prove me looking like an idiot. But, it's hard to go past Anamoe here. Is he a betting opportunity at about $1.90? He could come out here and win by 3 or 4 lengths. You might never see $1.90 about him ever again until he goes a stud. But I don't like backing horses that have won first up. But in saying that, I guess I'll backing horses that have won first up heading into a second up run. But with horses that are champions, or I think Anamoe could become a future champion, that rule sort of goes out the window. And I don't think he necessarily peaked first up. I think him winning, obviously, the Run to the Rose, the main lead-up race into this race at 1,200 metres first up. And, I just can't see them beating him at 1,400 metres. Obviously, J-Mac's got to have his work cut out for him with, I think there's probably a lack of tempo in this race, other than, I guess, if Giannis goes bit further forward. I think the thing with Giannis is he's I'd say misdemeanors in his behavior in the past were his like biggest concerns, but obviously he's returned much better. But yeah, I think Anamoe is the main one for me. Obviously, I'm not no scientist for picking him out, but I think the one I want to touch base on at a bit of a price is Captivant. I think he returned really well first up in the San Domenico. He hit the line really hard behind In the Congo, who's obviously about half his price. I think second up there, he came back with respiratory issues. I'm happy to forgive that run. I think barrier 1 would be a huge advantage. He's obviously a Group 1 winner over the mile, so I've got no concerns at 1,400 meters. And I think he's the horse going from 11, 12 to 14, third up. He should be ready to run a big race at $31.
Yeah, I think it's definitely an intriguing betting race. Obviously, you've got Anamoe, who's pretty short, but outside of that, and there hasn't been a lot of moves early on either. It's been probably plenty of money for Anamoe, and I think Remark's probably been about the best back runner outside, and the only one we've seen a tiny bit of a firm for, and everyone else has kind of held their marks. And interesting horse, like as you said, these are horses that probably had the big booms on them, and they've struggled to sort of relive that in their first up couple of runs. And you look at a horse like Artorias, he's $8.50 and he's beaten Halal less than half a length, and he's 3 times his price. You know, like it's very hard to work out where those horses are going to get to in a race like this and how it's going to measure up. So I think agree with you. I think Anamoe's probably got to be the one that goes on. I thought James was actually really kind to him the other day, just really let him go through his gears. I think he thought he was always going to get there and probably panicked a little bit mid stages of the straight, but he just let him get through his gears, finish off nicely. Coming off the setback is probably a better run than what it looked, and hopefully he can go to another level and really take over this one. I like probably ones at a bit of odds in this race. So like Tiger of Malay, I think that it probably sets up well. I think he's drawn 4. You got Bossy on. Gate was against him the other day. He just gets a soft run. He doesn't have to do any work, and he can sort of control where he wants to be. And the other horses have got to beat him, get past him. And is it Giannis? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, the great.
Right, we'll go. I really like the horses. When it was coming through the Golden Slipper campaigns, and it just sort of never got the luck it needed. It does have to come back to 1,400, which I think is a little bit of negative of the horse, because I think it probably will appreciate once it gets to a mile. But I think if there's any sort of run-on pattern, it's got to come with Anamoe, and it's got to get past Anamoe. But if they can roll along a little bit more tempo than I expected, well, then hopefully it is running on late. But it's going to take some kind of ride from Kieran. So you're going with there, Jason, for the QUADDIE?
I'm going to take Anamoe. You have to put him in the QUADDIE. I don't think this is a race you can probably play one out, just because obviously they're 3-year-olds and one of them could just have a massive peak performance. So 1 and 3, Captivant.
Okay, I'm going with Tiger, Malay and Giannis. So we've got 1, 3, 6 and 8. So we have stretched it wide there outside of the favourites. So let's hope that if someone's going to roll, it's one of the outside horses. So anyway, let's move on to race 9. We've got the Gloaming Stakes, Group 3 for 3-year-old fillies. Another interesting affair here. We've got a horse like Subterranean, who I thought was probably been disappointing since his first up run. His second up one was okay to Coast Watch, and then he was good to Giannis the other day, but it sort of gives you a question mark on how he's going to go with this race. Looking at the speed map, what do they do with the speed here as well? Obviously, this race got the boom horse Profondo, with 1.9 million, wins his first start. Thought he did a very good job to win that race, but then he's going from midweek company straight to a Group 3 race. And I just can't find who's going to lead, or if they lead, how quick they're going to go. Which is going to be very interesting in a horse that I sort of liked, like Akahata, I thought can go forward, but he can also find a spot, because I think he's got a good turn of foot when he's cuddled up. Notions, horse that's been going well in a lot less competitive company than these guys. He could take it up from the 2. What do you think, Jace?
Yeah, I'd probably have to agree with you on Notions. I think I backed this runner on debut at the Sunshine Coast over 1,000 metres, and I've been proven to be wrong, because now she's appearing 5th up at 1,800. So that might have been a dumb move from me. But Yeah, I think she can go forward here. But as you said, this race is devoid of speed. Like, it's whoever wants it can really have it. And that probably doesn't leave my two picks too well off. And for that reason, it's probably not a race I really want to bet into. I think it's probably the toughest race of the day, just because generally these 3-year-old staying races, one of them could just pop up at like 30 to 1, 40 to 1 and just surprise you from a different form line. But on form, you'd probably have to take the horses out of the Dulcifer. And I think the best run out of the Dulcifer, in my opinion, was Anamoe. He got well back from the wasn't a wide barrier, but I guess wide-ish barrier. And down the straight, he basically got held up for the first 100, 200 meters. Got through the line very well. I think 1,800 meters has been a horse that's been looking for that. I think he ran a good race in the Champagne last preparation to finish his campaign. He came back well at Kembla Grange. I think the one thing with him is a lot of his runs have been at Kembla Grange. So I guess to a different track now, a track that he hasn't seen is probably the concern. Obviously, he's drawn barrier 13 in a race with no tempo. So, you know, it's just not a smart betting opportunity, I'd say. I guess the other one for me, Head of State, number 2. I didn't mind the run in midweek company. Obviously, when you're versing the older horses, you have, I'd say, less of a threshold to sort of be like immature and do incorrect things. He laid out a bit down the straight and probably cost himself the race. And it was also a very slow tempo that was set. I forgot who set the tempo in that race, but he came home with the best overall sectionals in the race. I think obviously J-Max, the key booking, and I think he should be hard enough to beat, but you could make a case for like 10 of these horses. I think Profondo, as you were mentioning, $1.9 million colt or 7, whatever it was. 1,400 meters up to 1,800 meters, 3 weeks in between runs, midweek company to, group 3 company. It's a big step up, but I guess the money might show that he's more than capable of doing so.
Yeah, this is just it's just unfortunate that we don't have any Gaybot runners for this race. It's a real worry when I think someone needs to have a chapter game. We listen when we have these 3-year-old staying races on. We need at least 2 horses from your stable competing, which he generally does.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's probably a sad event. As soon as we don't, we lose all the tempo out of the race. So I'd be very surprised. It's one of those things where you still see a big field and you think, oh, everyone sees no speed and suddenly there's plenty, but still very hard to see where it might come from. A horse like Profondo could even take it up. He was very strong in his trials. I was surprised when he went to the 14 first up off some of his trials. He raced very fierce and very strong. He's a horse that could end up rolling forward. Yeah, for me, I'm sort of playing a little bit wide in this race. Subterranean, I'm giving him sort of one more chance. I'm sort of giving him a few chances this time in after a really good first up run. There is a good point to say, like, you've got Anamoe, who was a long way off him and went past him. So he's really going to have to improve and turn around just to even sort of turn the tables on that horse. I just thought he's drawn to get the right run in the race. Nash can sort of be wherever he wants to be. I doubt he'd be too far back from the 4 with not a lot of speed in the race. And I think Nash can dictate where he wants to be. And I'm going to throw Akahata in the race. I said I would have loved to have seen a little bit more speed in the race, but he is a horse that can settle forward. I think Bossy might take advantage from the 9, roll forward, see if he can get him into a spot. And if he can get sort of 2-3 pairs back with cover, I think the horse has got a really good turn of foot for about a furlong, and then he just sort of continues to rack away. So it's an interesting horse because I think last week's run at Newcastle was just a warm-up run for this race. But as you see in these 3-year-old races, they tend to be very hard to, not only to map, but very hard to go through them because they can be wide. So looking at from our QUADDIE point of view, I'm going with Akahata and Subterranean. And who you got, Jace?
I've got number 2, Head of State, and number 3, Anamoe.
So we've got 1, 2, 3, and 8. And Head of State's actually been probably the best back runner in the race. Not that there's been a tower of money for it, but slight firm from it. And it's got to take a step up from midweek grade to Saturday company, and was only last week as well. So that'll be and up to 1,800. And it's probably a horse where J-Mac can push forward as well. I don't think we'll see it getting too far back. Rightio, let's get on to the Lucky Last, which is another tough race to get through. We've got the 3-year-old and upwards benchmark 88 1,400-metre race. Ellsberg resumes here for the Ryan and Alexia stable and drawn an horrendous gate, but you'd think it'd be rolling forward from the gate. Snitzify drawn out wide as well. Those two horses only know, well, Ellsberg especially only knows one way and generally rolls pretty quickly. So you'd think they're going to set up some kind of tempo. Then you've got a horse like Academy drawn 1, so he's not going to want to be handing up an easy assignment. So I'm sure Jay Parr will be pushing there. So I expect this race to roll along. And how do you see the last one playing out, Jace?
I have to disagree with you with Ellsberg here. I think normally, obviously, he'd roll forward, but I did read an article through the week that they were planning to ride him back. And I think looking at the gear changes, I think that would suggest they've got to ride him back too, because they're taking the blinkers off. So possibly from the wide draw, it's probably the time to test.
Try him.
Yeah, it's probably the first start. You know, you're not really. He's probably got bigger targets, I guess, than a benchmark 88. They might have, I don't know, they might have a listed or Group 3 race like circled for later on in the spring. But I think here's a chance for them to try and see if he's, I guess, 2-dimensional. And for that reason, I'm going to land on Academy at a big price, just because I don't really see a load of speed in this race, and I do have question marks on Ellsberg. If Ellsberg goes forward, then my plan's out the window. But I'm just reading between the lines here. I think Academy went way too hard in front last time, and that was just a complete forgive. I think showing the gear change with the blinkers off, I think that works in his favour. I think he's just fired up, and Sherry, I love Sherry as a jockey, but I just don't think he could have controlled him really. So I think the senior rider getting back on board's a massive positive. Barrier 1, massive positive. I wouldn't say 1,500 metres would be his best trip. I'd probably prefer this to be a 14. It's 14. This is 1,400 metres. My bad. He's coming out of a 1,500 metre race. So it's in my favour that he drops down 100 metres. I thought he'd run at Randwick 2 starts back. He lost by 2 lengths, but, you know, with 50 metres to go, he was still in front of a Tissues since coming out and won on the weekend or last Saturday. So I think he's the one at, 16-1, most bookmakers around there. He's the one that can run well. I've got concerns around Kiku. I don't know if she's going as well as the market suggests. A bit concerned that she's had 3 trials. I don't know what she was doing up in Queensland. I don't know if anyone can, Luke might have some information on that, but no idea why she was up in Queensland. She's been missing the kick in both her trials. And she's been pretty weak to the line, in my opinion. And I wouldn't say the jockey's even throttled her down. So I've got a bit of a concern about Kiku. So for that reason, happy to play Academy. And if there's one here that can really improve, from a 3-year-old to a 4-year-old, I reckon it might be Grace and Harmony. I've always had a massive opinion of this girl. Been lucky enough to see her in the flesh a few times, and she's a lovely mare now. And obviously she contested in the Oaks and the Roses at the end of last preparation in Queensland. She didn't go as well in those races, but she's a listed winner. She's in on the minimum here, or 54 kilos, not the minimum in this race, but I think she can run well at double figures and hit the line hard.
Yeah, I think with Kiku, I think some of those Waller horses, after they finish their autumn campaigns, do spell up in Queensland, and they come back through the Queensland system. So I think they just get the sun on their backs and spell through the winter up there. May have been up there for the winter and things went amiss and decided to spell up there, but a lot of times he just sort of, I think, brings them back and forth and goes through that. And you're right about Grace and Harmony. She's sort of got form around that Signore Nera, and that was a really impressive first up winner for Waller that he had a couple of weeks ago, didn't he? So yeah, she did some great things during the winter up there in Queensland. If you're Ellsberg's connections and you've got Snitzify is actually out now, and we've got 9 out of 9 on-pace runners have won tomorrow, do you still stick with your guns and go back, or do you roll forward?
I'd go forward either way, but I feel like judging from the article that I read and judging from the gear change, they're going back. And it's probably not the worst time to try doing that because, as I said earlier, I think it's probably the best chance that he'll get to see if he's a 2-dimensional horse. And I don't know, maybe they think he might be too keen in the front, or I don't know what their excuse is for going back.
I think that Yeah, I think that's their biggest thing. I think they're just sort of feeling that his fierceness and how quick he goes just cost him a few times, and probably just seeing if there's something else that they can get out of him. And if anyone's going to get hold of him, Nash can probably get hold of him. But yeah, I'm sort of going. I was going that way with hoping that they will roll along a little bit anyway, because both my horses are back markers. I thought Bullfinch was super first up, and through the line he was super. I thought he was great back in March when he had that one run. They stuck him straight away. I think he's probably been the best back runner so far as well. He's 26s into a 10. There's a few scratchings, but he looks to be the best back runner so far. Drops in weight on his last run. I just thought he really got the outside and worked home well. And then through the line and after the post, I thought was the best I've seen. Jumps him straight to 1400 now. I don't want to say he's a negative because it's great to see him back, but he does cop back on a Saturday. Look, he's in form. He's ridden winners already during the week. So hopefully he's on the money, and he didn't look to have missed a beat with his Hawkesbury rides yesterday. So he's back in and does get Glen, draws 9, just goes back, I think gets the right spot, and hopefully they roll along, can get to the outside. And if they are making up ground, I think he's going to be the one that's going to be very hard to beat. And I'm also looking for Ventura Ocean. I thought was a little bit disappointing last start. I think probably gets to 1400 now. I think they'll try and ride him a little bit more quiet. As I've always said with this horse, I don't know whether he sort of ticked the boxes when he first came over, because he did campaign in Brisbane for the Chris Lee's camp, and I think he sort of exceeded their expectations, and he runs this time in. His first up one was super. Second, I thought was a little bit flat, but probably looking for the 1400 now, and he did have a setback in between those runs and went back in distance. Now he goes up to the 1400, he'll be better suited. Drawn to go back, but he will need the tempo on. And if they are running on late, I'd expect Bullfinch to have a better turn of foot and acceleration than Ventura Ocean. But yeah, as you said, I need this race to roll along a bit for those two to get home. So tough one to finish up, and we will have a great idea of how the track's playing and what we've got involved by the last two. So if we can't work out track pattern by the last, we'll be into some decent trouble. So looking at the numbers there, we're going to have, I'm going with Bullfinch and Ventura Ocean. Jace, you're going with Academy and Grayson Hummy?
Yes, that is correct. I can agree with Bullfinch. I think he's one that I think most punters will probably find just based off how strong he was through the line. But I think, as you said earlier, I would have liked to see a stronger jockey's booking, let's just say that. But no disrespect to Mr. Schofield, but I would have liked to, I think Grayson Harmony's probably got a stronger jockey booking than Bullfinch in that point. So, that's where I land. But I think for me, he's probably third pick. I'm happy to lay both favourites or go around both favourites.
Yeah, so we're looking at, we've got 6, 7, 8 and 10 in the last leg of the QUADDIE. And suggestion those last two legs is to probably play as well. And because they're two definitely challenging. Maybe you can sort of be skinny early on and hope that Anamoe and Entriviere or that get you into the zone, and then the last two legs you can go wide and still end up with a decent percentage. Anything else you see on the card or anything across Australia tomorrow that might be your best bet of the day, Jace?
I think there's a horse. I'm not playing at Rosehill too heavily tomorrow. I'm just, as I said, I'm petrified how the track's got to play. I think betting might be a really profitable thing tomorrow, because I think there's just got to be a really bad bias towards leaders, but I just want to see it first. I'm heading to Goulburn, so got some good mates in Goulburn. We love Goulburn, but race 3, number 3, Fangirl for Chris Waller. I'm not sure what price she'll open up. If she opens up odds on, I'll be a bit flat, but she probably deserves to be odds on in this field. I thought she was really good first up. She's a bit of a head case, but I feel like she has potential to go through the grades. And it wouldn't surprise me if we see her in a race like the Flight Stakes next Saturday at 1,600 metres for the fillies, because I think the fillies are really weak this year. And I think she might be the one that could just turn up at about 20 or 30 to 1 and run a good race in that. But obviously she has to win at Goulburn on Saturday. So I'm heavily in her camp. But that's probably my best bet for Saturday. Race 3, number 3, Fangirl at Goulburn.
Beautiful. So you get race 3, number 3 at Goulburn for JC's best bet of the day. Mine, I'm going to kick us off in the first, and hopefully we get underway and bank it up early at Rosehill. I think YIYI is probably one of the best bets of the day. Barring how the track will play, I think he'll be positive enough to put himself in the race that he can probably get over the top of it. I think his run was super the other day to Too Much to Bear. He's drawn well. He drops a long way in weight. Jason Collett, who's definitely in form, and I think he'd be very, very hard to beat. He went 1,500 to 2,000 last time, and he's back to 19. So I think he's suited perfectly for this race. He maps perfectly. And I think he'd be really hard to beat and hopefully get us underway early. There's, I think it was about $3 or $4 when I looked earlier. So I think they'll come for him tomorrow because of that 15 to 2,000 back to 19. I think he'll probably be the one they will find. And as I said, I just think he can not go against bias, but I just think he'd be close enough that it may not affect him too much. So that's my best. Race 1, number 8 at Rose Hill for my best. Race 3, number 3 at Goulburn for Jace's best. And I'll just recap our QUADDIE numbers. In the first leg, we are 2, 4, 9, and 10. In the second leg, we are 1, 3, 6, and 8. Race 9, the third leg, we are 1, 2, 3, and 8. And race 10, the last leg, we are 6, 7, 8, and 10 for the Bagman QUADDIE. All right, Jace, thanks for joining us, mate.
No worries, mate.
Hope just let everyone know what is that. Where do we find those Greyhound syndications again? CG Syndications on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So hopefully we see the big boy running at the Great Wentworth Park in a couple of weeks' time. So we'll be open. So we'll be down there. So if you're down at Wentworth Park, join us because we'll be making a lot of time. Have a cast of thousands down there. Yeah, that'd be great.